everybody, it is Steve, your friendly neighborhood law gnome. Welcome back to another episode of Stats, Trends, and Picks over here on That's Comical, and if you're watching and it happens to be a Wednesday, happy new comic book day. Well, we're now officially in the midst of the holiday season. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving and are excited for all the holidays to follow before we officially close the book on 2025. And speaking of books, I'm not going to go into any crazy details in regards to what's going on in the news, but I know that there was a lot happening just due to a lot of things going on at work and in life. Nothing bad, just very busy. I'm going to try and get through this video as quickly as I can. So let's start off by taking a look at the November 2025 numbers. It was definitely one of the lower months, believe it or not, because of a lot of pushes and delays, but we still managed to get a total of 54 books, and it was a tie between DC and Image Comics. Totally understand why. It's the Ghost Machine and the Energon universe, just to name a few, over at Image, and the all-in DC KO event that is going on over at DC Comics. And then we got the other conglomerate followed by Marvel as per usual. Then when we take a look at the percentages, we have a total of over 30% on both the Image and DC side, just a little under 26% for the other, and 11% over at Marvel. And as you can see, this chart is very exciting now because it seems to be those three at the very top that are just constantly neck and neck. I'm really curious to see which company is going to cross the finish line at the top, but the most important question is going to be which one actually was the most successful in taking the most money out of my wallet as possible. We'll find that out when we close out 2025. So, how did we do in November of 2025 in terms of my stats and my predictions? Well, not too terrible. We actually ended up doing, once again, 50-50, which I'm not going to be upset about. But I'm just glad that all the choices that I made were great, and all of the predicted picks that didn't make the cut were still very much in my honorable mentions. But for the first week of November of 2025, and I knew it was going to be the case, it was the fourth issue of Speed Racer over at Mad Cave Studios by David Pepose, and amazing artwork by David Tinto. This is without a doubt one of the coolest, most fun times I'm having in the pages of comics. Granted, there's a lot of great titles out there, but even though I constantly tout about the Energon universe and the Ghost Machine universe, it is these nostalgic titles that just always manage to break on through and sometimes steal the top spot. And Speed Racer has just been in my top 3 reads ever since the first issue hit, and knowing what we're getting into next month with the last issue of the first story arc, this may in fact be my favorite book of 2025, but we will see. For the second week of November of 2025, I was anticipating getting a little nostalgic and going over to Image Comics and giving it over to the big comeback from legend Rob Liefeld and his brand new Youngblood comic book. Youngblood is back, and it was very exciting, and I'm just going to say that this was a fun book, but it wasn't the best book. The best book ended up being over at DC Comics, and it is the penultimate issue of one of the most entertaining comic books I have read in 2025, and that is W. Maxwell Prince's Superman the Kryptonite Spectrum. This is issue number 4. This book is just twisted and wacky and fun. I love this book to death. If it wasn't for Speed Racer, this could have probably been my favorite book of 2025, but we got one more month to go, so time will tell. For the third week of November of 2025, I was anticipating giving it to Image Comics' The Sacrificers, issue number 17 by Rick Remender. This is definitely one of the best titles out. It was the number 1 book in my world back in 2023, and it's still doing an amazing job. But there was one book that surpassed it, and that, of course, was the newest issue of Energon Universe's G.I. Joe by Joshua Williamson, issue number 14, the second part of the Dreadnought War. This story is just high-octane fun. I mean, Speed Racer is high-octane fun too, but this is just high-octane action and entertainment in a bit of a different way, but still just as much fun. G.I. Joe is turning out to be my favorite book of the Energon universe because it's just so much fun. And something that I wanted to mention from the guy who runs my local comic book shop, he said, think about the fact that this book is so popular right now, and the #1 most popular G.I. Joe name has not even shown up in the book, and that is true. Snake Eyes has not shown up in G.I. Joe, but I have a feeling he'll be showing up soon. But the fact that you can enjoy this book without Snake Eyes, the fan favorite, that's amazing to know. And then for the last week of November of 2025, I didn't know what to choose. It was either going to be one of these books from Image Comics. I chose either Escape #4 by Rick Remender, another one of the best titles that I'm currently reading, Robert Kirkman's Skinbreaker #3, and Tony Fleecs and Trish Forstner's Feral #18. All three of these were good reads, but there were no ties or triple ties. We ended up getting a single book, and it was the 3rd issue of Skinbreaker, and this book is just blowing my mind. It is crazy to believe that this is not an ongoing series, but you know what? Robert Kirkman sold me a very strong bill of goods. He said that I wanted to make a book that is going to make grown men cry, and I believed him. I very much believed him, and that is exactly what Skinbreaker is turning out to be. Just a very emotional story that I am enjoying so dearly. So that was November, guys. We're heading into the last month of 2025. What are we going to be getting? A lot of good stuff, especially the fact that we are now officially in Fight Month over at DCKO with a bunch of one-shots and fights taking place in the current pages of the issues of the titles that are officially live and well. I'm just excited to read every single one of these books. I've been fully invested in DCKO. It's not elite reading, it's not a masterpiece by any means, but it's a blast. I'm having so much fun, and that's what I want any day in my comics. So, as far as I'm concerned, when I take a look at the calendar and I take a look at the books that are coming out, December 2025 is going to be interesting. For the first week of December of 2025, I'm sure you all would have guessed it. Yes, I am going to be giving it to Speed Racer, issue #5, over at Mad Cave Studios by David Pepose. I just want to let you guys know that while I'm recording this, I haven't read my newest books that came out, and just so you guys know, I'm really excited because what a great way to end the year than a 5-week new comic book month. But I have been getting advanced copies of a lot of David Pepose's titles over at Mad Cave and Dynamite, so I am very much ahead of the game, and I'm already just going to say to everybody that if you are not reading Speed Racer, what is wrong with you? It is such an amazing book, and it is definitely one of the better ways to have closed out a first story arc. I am just hoping that there is still life for this book after the first arc. I want to see more from David Pepose when it comes to Speed Racer. For the second week of December 2025, yeah, I'm going to go and try and give it a tie this time around because there are 2 titles that I just am so excited about. One of them is from the company Bad Idea. It has been a long time since I have gotten a Bad Idea comic, but it's also a long time since I've read something from one of my favorite writers, and that is Robert Venditti, and he is writing a 3-issue miniseries with a issue #0 bonus called Ordained. It's actually also going to be turned into a movie, so the story sounds interesting, and I want to see what Robert Venditti is going to do with this, especially if it's going to be a movie. There's got to be some promise there. And the other book that's coming out that week, I'm just really excited about because it's another wave of nostalgia. Another character that has not been in the pages of comics for a while. And it is The Darkness. And what makes me really excited is the fact that I heard this from the horse's mouth. Mark Silvestri is going to be writing this book. And considering the fact that I have loved his art for many, many years, knowing that after reading Batman and the Joker, The Deadly Duo, which was a phenomenal book, he wrote it, he drew it, I'm just excited to see his take on The Darkness, because he never wrote this title. He did the artwork, but he never wrote it. Garth Ennis wrote it. So I'm really excited to see his take on The Darkness. For the third week of December of 2025, it is a very, very exciting week. There's so many great books coming out. The new Dick Tracy, the new Exquisite Corpses, the new G.I. Joe, Sacrificers, Space Ghost, but there's one title that shines above the rest of them because I've just been loving this book so much, and I'm going to go over to DC Comics, and I'm going to give it to Superman the Kryptonite Spectrum, issue #5, the final issue from W. Maxwell Prince and Martin Morazzo. through, this book has just been a joy. I have loved it, and I am dying to see how Prince is going to stick that landing, because let me tell you guys, he knows how to stick that landing. For the fourth week, we're talking about Christmas Eve 2025. There are a lot of great books coming out. There's the new Skinbreaker, the final issue of Sisterhood, a High Street story, new Thundercats, new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures, even a new issue of Void Rivals, which will start a brand new story arc called The Quintesson War. That's number 25. But there's one book that for some strange reason is telling me I think this one is going to be an amazing book, and it's an Absolute title. I have not been reading any of the Absolute books. I actually read all the first arcs and then just stopped reading them because it was really about me trying to establish my understanding of these characters, who they are, where they come from, and that was basically it. But the fact that in Absolute Wonder Woman number 15, we're going to be getting the very first of a two-part crossover in which Absolute Batman is going to show up in this comic. And then in January, Wonder Woman is going to go into the Absolute Batman comic pages. So I just said to myself, I got to check this book out. There's got to be something interesting here. It's going to probably lead to something big. So I'm going to pick up Absolute Wonder Woman issue number 15. And then for the final new comic book day of 2025. It's going to be a small week, but there is one book that, regardless of whether it's good or whether it's terrible, because I mean, this is the same week that Escape number 5 and Feral 19 from Image are coming out, but I'm actually going to go with a Marvel book for that day, and I'm going to be giving it to Marvel Comics Ultimate Endgame number 1 by Denise Camp, because this is the end of the Ultimate Universe that has been on our comic book stands and comic book shops for the last 2 years. I am a little bit surprised about the fact that this run is coming to a close, but I am all the more excited to find out how is this Ultimate Universe going to end, and we're only going to find that out in the pages of the final miniseries, Ultimate Endgame. So that is going to wrap up my stats, trends, and picks for November of 2025. I'm hoping that you guys had a good comic book reading month. Is there anything that I might have missed? And of course, you're not going to see all of my predictions come true. You're not going to see what's going to happen with my picks until 2026, when I do the very first stats, trends, and picks of 2026. But I'm hoping that you guys had a good reading month. Is there anything that I might have missed? What are you looking forward to close out your 2025, and what are you looking forward to the most in 2026? In the meantime, everybody, I will see you in the next one.